Hello and welcome to Post-Exertional Malaise. Mayonnaise, I'm getting it wrong now. I'm too tired. You can tell how it's going to go today. I've got Post-Exertional Malaise, I think. We've got a joint podcast episode today with Michael Brooks from Chat with Me podcast. So it's really good to have you with us, Michael. And it's good to sort of share platforms and stuff. So do you want to tell us a bit about yourself and your podcast, just for our listeners that don't know?
Yeah, of course. So obviously my name's Michael, and I've had was diagnosed with ME CFS in 2006 after a bout of glandular fever, which probably is a tale that quite a few of us will know, some sort of virus kicking it off. So, and I've been kind of up and down. Like, I was severe to begin with, and I gradually got myself back to work, which was I didn't think at that time. I kind of positively thought I could get there, but didn't know if it was possible. And then I got back to work, and ever since I've just been relapse after relapse. It's just, I think possibly more in my brain. I think I'm okay, and then push myself, and then I've just continuously relapsed and struggled with it. And then obviously now I have a family as well, so that takes its toll on any person without throwing a chronic illness in the mix. But that the podcast for me kind of grew out of it was my friend suggested for me to do a podcast about something that I love, which is football. And I was like, to be fair, there's so many podcasts out there about that, and I don't know if I could find the niche, because you've got like Peter Crouch is doing one, you've got like the real ex-footballers doing it, and it's like, I don't know how you compete with that. And there's an oversaturation with supporters podcasts as well. So how do you stand out? Was my initial thought, and then my brain went, well, do you know what? There's one thing I am quite an expert on, and not at the same time, because I don't think anyone could be fully an expert on this illness. But I thought, I don't know too many podcasts about ME from the patient perspective. There's a lot out there for like the clinical, the science, the medical side of it. But I just decided, do you know what? Why not? It's at the end of the day, it's a bit of fun for me, and it's nice to get an interaction with. Like, I've met others, people who have the illness that I've not met before via the podcast, like yourself, for instance. And I just thought it'd be quite it's just nice for people to have a voice, to hear that they're not on their own, because sometimes it can be quite a lonely place. Even with a family, you can have moments where you feel isolated and on your own, especially if they're out doing something and you're in bed or housebound. So it's given me kind of like a hobby, I guess, in a sense, and I've kind of enjoyed doing it. So
and what was really funny is, like, we sort of discovered that we both kind of started something. It was around about the similar time, wasn't it? Sort of like April, May time, that we'd kind of come up with a similar idea, and hopefully we're not kind of overlapping too much, and we're doing kind of slightly different things. But no, it's good, and I think it's important, and people can hopefully listen to both, and I think there is that element for me. That's what I kind of hope that people get out of it, is that sense of listening to voices that understand. And because ME is so like misunderstood and stigmatized and things like that, that like the hope that kind of having voices through podcasts and YouTube channels, whatever else, that people are going to hear different voices and kind of feel that they're not alone. And I think that's really important. So
100%. I think sometimes as well, for a lot of people, too much visual content can be hard, depending on where you're at with the illness, if that's one of the symptoms you get. So just to be able to listen to something via headphones or in the background, I think can be quite calming as well. And when it's about something that you can feel, like I said, on your own, to have someone who understands talking about it, I guess, from a patient perspective, can be it's not gratifying. I don't know what the right word, but it just makes you feel
affirming. Maybe is that the word?
Yeah, I think so. It's just sometimes trying to pick that word out. I haven't long woken up, so my vocabulary might not be as on point as normal.
I'm the same. So yeah, we thought about doing a Christmas episode. I think you suggested it on Twitter, and then we sort of like put it on the back burner, and then we thought, we need to kind of think about this. So or holiday season, or Hannukah, and whatever it is you're celebrating this time of year. But and I think just acknowledging the challenges that come for all of us with living with ME and chronic illnesses, it's really hard, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, totally.
How do you kind of go about managing Christmas with your family?
I think we've been quite fortunate the last, because of me relapsing was 2 years ago now. So the one Christmas we spent with Lindsay's mum, and last Christmas we spent with Lindsay's sister. So there wasn't too much for me to sort of think about as such. It was just a case of getting there and resting and joining in when I can. But I have found, because we're doing a Christmas at home this year, is plan everything. It's because in my head I know what I need to do, but come sort of closer to the time, I don't think it's necessarily always up there. So I would say, for me, planning it, like planning how the day's going to go, when you're going to do activities, that sort of thing, so that you kind of feel part of it, but you can pull yourself away if you need to as well. So I think for me as well is also not to feel guilt, which I think a lot of us kind of get with this illness anyway, because you're not joining in with all the things that you could do before. I think you've got to listen to your body and know what you can do. I know it's not always easy to pace yourself, especially when you've got a family or other people that rely on you as well. So it's just having that moment to know that if you can't do something, that is okay. You're doing the best you can do in that given moment. Because I find, for me, guilt is something that I get a lot, especially with having the 2 children, because I can't, like simple thing like that, like the Aurora's kind of swimming now, but we took Matty to the swimming pool for the first time, and of course I couldn't go in, but I was able to sit and watch. But little things like that, you don't realise how much that can hurt you until you sat there realising you want to be in the swimming pool on her first attempt at that. And I think guilt creeps in with everybody with ME for various different reasons, and I think with Christmas there's also a big, like, everyone seems to want a perfect Christmas, which I don't think really happens anyway, because you're guaranteed when you're well and all the family around, there's arguments come 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's just you can't get away from I don't think anyone can ever really create the perfect Christmas, but you have to come away from trying to do that, because that's where you end up crashing, I think. And then it's it's a tough one to kind of negotiate, because you want to be present and you want to be there as much as possible, but you don't want to overdo it, because the knock-on effect of the post-exertional malaise, as you were saying earlier, that can also be a right pain going into the new year, which you don't want. And what about you? Because you've got family as well. How do you plan things, or?
It's a bit. It's my kids are a bit older, so it's a funny one. They're not. I think last year they weren't up quite so early, which was nice. I think we were almost like waking them up. I think so. Come on, you want to open your presents? So it's I've got a couple of my wife's family members coming to stay, so that's always a challenge when just having extra people around the house and things. It's tricky, and then, like you said, sort of finding that balance between putting the extra energy into the things that you need to do, but then knowing that you need to step back as well, and not pushing yourself too hard. And there's just like extra things, tidying up and washing pots and all that sort of stuff. So it's like trying to find that balance and guilt. Yeah, I feel really guilty when I sort of have to step back. But I think this year I'm going to try and be a little bit more planned about pacing myself in terms of like taking myself away and lying down and stuff when I need to. It's hard.
Yeah, totally.
But I think the whole season's difficult, isn't it? Because
well, when you think about it, it's all bright flashing lights and everything that can really stimulate you and make you worse. It's all there packed into a nice little month for you.
Yeah, and then I think for so many people it stirs up like really difficult feelings. Like I was like, we'd planned to do our Christmas decorations like not the weekend just gone, but the weekend before. But and it's almost like been a family tradition that I've kind of done the tree with the kids. My wife's done different bits of decorating, but I've done the tree, and we just used a fake one this year. But I was just like too exhausted that weekend to do it, so we ended up doing it on like a Tuesday evening. And my daughter did most of it, and she really enjoyed it. She's 15, but and she just got on and did it and put some Christmas music on and stuff. But while she was doing it and I was just sat watching, I just had like a real sense of like grief come over me because I was just like, I'm just so exhausted that I can't stand for long enough to kind of just help out with that. And the whole thing was just a bit overwhelming, and I was just, like, and I think for so many of us, just like missing the wider things that happen around Christmas, like the different events that you might go to, like I really miss having a work Christmas do. I don't know about you, but it's like I used to really like work Christmas do's, and that sort of stuff. So it kind of brings up lots of different feelings, doesn't it? And I think, and I'm just aware of like people, and like I can really empathize with people, that have made or can't have children or have made the decision not to have children because of ME. So then Christmas is focused on children, and then that's really hard for those people that's going to stir up those sort of feelings.
Grief from all angles, isn't there? I think with it, because it's really difficult. Because we're planning to take the girls. We've got like a little it's called Windsor on Ice. I think it's just a little kind of like a Christmas market with a few things. So we're planning to hopefully go. We've got a wheelchair put in the back of the car ready to take me so I can go with them. That's the plan next Friday, I think it is, but it's a surprise for the girls. But it's kind of, in one hand, it's like I'm really excited to try and do it. But on the other hand, I'm thinking, crikey, I hope it doesn't set off a cascade that's going to mean Christmas is ruined, sort of thing. It's a bit of a, like part of me wants to go and part of me's, do I be safe or do I push it and see how I am? It's, so yeah, it's a weird one because we haven't done, we went to a lot like a Christmas light show, which was the first thing I've done really as a family since the relapse. And it kind of, that was a lot of fun, and I was pushed around on the wheelchair, but the next day I was unable to do like anything. I literally somehow managed to get the girls to school, and that was it. I was in bed. And so it's, but fortunately my wife's off and my, mother-in-law will be up, so there will be support, which is another reason why I'm planning, because I'm probably more the chef in the house, but obviously for the last sort of couple of years Lindsay's been doing practically most of it, so I'm kind of planning, because she's never, I don't think she's ever cooked a Christmas dinner before, so I'm kind of planning it so that I can help as well, but have it all staged out so that, I think, because we're going to do a lot of the cooking on Christmas Eve, so that really it's only warming the veg through and cooking the last minute stuff that you don't want to go soggy basically on the Christmas Eve. That's going to go through on Christmas Day. And we've also decided, which might be a help to other people with families, we always find that Christmas lunch is you always have it quite early, don't you? It's like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. So by the time you finish, you're all shattered anyway when you're on full health. So come sort of 3, 4 o'clock, you're exhausted and you don't want to do anything else. And that's when all the fights start, I think. So we've decided what we like to normally have like a prawn cocktail before the meal. But I always say that once I've had the prawn cocktail and the bread, I'm already half full. I don't need Christmas. So we're doing that for lunch instead and pushing the Christmas tea back to like 4 or 5 o'clock. So that way it's more of a normal time to when we normally eat. and so the girls just won't be feasting on chocolate all day. But it'll also make it that there's less anxiety around cooking when they're opening the presents in the morning, if that makes sense. Having to get everything in and timed and stuff. So that was something Lindsay thought of, and I thought, do you know what, that's actually not a bad idea, because you get a lot of the stuff done Christmas Eve and you've got all day to do it, whereas Christmas Day is quite a manic day as it is, and then you want to throw in a roast dinner at the same time. What are we thinking? So
yeah, having a strategic plan sounds good. Yeah, mostly my wife and my mother-in-law kind of just got on with the cooking and stuff. But yeah, like it's a challenge, isn't it? And it's a challenge when you've got younger kids as well, because you want to like engage with them, don't you? And I mean, for mine, it's like they won't be getting they're getting sort of smaller but more expensive presents, so they'll just sort of probably like, it's not a case of like having to build things and stuff like that, or get your screwdrivers out and all that sort of stuff. It's kind of
I always love when the Lego Star Wars comes, but when it comes to the point of then having to put it all together, it's like it's enjoyable, but you can't do it in one sitting. You have to like take about 5 months to get it done. But I suppose that's the thing as well. When they are a bit older, they have smaller presents, but they are a lot more expensive as well. So you get that issue. Like youngers, you have to build everything. Older, you have to spend more money. So it's
true. It's true. Less mess, hopefully. So.
Fingers crossed. Do you plan like any activities or like have anything? I mean, because you say your daughter's 15, you got a son as well, isn't it?
Yeah, my son's 12. Yeah. So, we haven't planned anything really this year. My mum's taken my daughter out to like Christmas lights event also this Friday, actually.
Okay.
So they're doing that. But no, we're not. We just haven't kind of planned an awful lot at all. So yeah, it's pretty much the big thing will be like Doctor Who on Christmas Day. Hopefully, watching that.
Yeah.
But it's I think it's just hard, and like not thinking too much about the things that you miss. And I think like there was this one tweet I just read earlier by Phoebe who said I could share this. She just said, I really miss the social side of this time of year, the work Christmas do, Christmas catch-ups with groups of friends, the Christmas markets, getting dressed up, festive cocktails, and how all of that helps create the Christmassy atmosphere. Was that really once my life? And yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Not being a part of all that stuff. And then I was thinking as well about because I sometimes we have like on my dad's side we have like a wider family gathering, where there's usually like about 30-40 people there, like cousins, uncles, aunts, all but we're not doing it this year, which is a shame, but it's also kind of a relief as well, because I always want to push myself to go, because I want to see people that I've not seen for a year or two or whatever, and see people, but then on the flip side there's always the difficulty in terms of like, do I go, do I not go, am I well enough? By going, does it look like I'm better than I am? Like do people then think, oh, he's doing all right? Because you sort of like your adrenaline kicks in, and then you sort of like you can function maybe for like an hour, and then you have to leave, but for that hour you look like you're doing all right. And then it's like also and it's not to say I get any sort of comments and stuff, but it's like people's not knowing people's level of understanding of ME and your illness. So like, oh, could you go for a walk or something like that? Just little comments that you think actually on the scale of things are quite small, but they can sting quite deeply. And I know for a lot of people with ME, there's always that wrestling, isn't there, with how do I manage and how do I explain? Do I have to kind of justify my condition to people? And it's a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's sometimes can be just as big as a battle, because I think like the term pacing goes about, and I think it's one of those words that in my brain I think, oh yeah, I pace quite well, but when I step back and look at what at certain moments, and I'm thinking, actually, I probably don't pace as well as I think, and then you do kind of overdo it, and then and I think this is a real critical part of understanding for people who don't know the illnesses. people only generally see you when you're able to do things. So they don't see it when you're bedbound or when you're in pain or when you've got your eye masks on, your headphones on, because the sensors are all overloading. So they only ever really see you at your best, if that makes sense. And even at your best is not necessarily, the best version of yourself because of your illness, if that makes sense. So I think it's quite a tough one, and especially over Christmas, if you do store up your spoons or your battery pack, levels, so you can go and do something, they'll see you for that bit, and that's what they take away from it. And that's from a level of people who don't understand the illness, because I still find, as someone who has it, I do struggle with understanding it at times, because it's such a complex illness. It's not really straightforward, and it's not defined by everyone got it by having COVID or having glandular fever. Some people just get it, like bam, hit a wall. Other people do get it prolonged from the virus, and I think it's that's why it's so important all this research is being done now as well, because we do not necessarily want answers, but we do want some level of, can you get people diagnosed quicker, which could possibly make the prognosis better. I think so much. I've got kind of gone off of on a tangent there a little bit. In my head, I was like, I was going on about Christmas, and now I'm talking about research. But I think it just comes down to that, wanting people to understand the illness, because you still get the odd person who says, oh, it's lazyitis, or I wish I was at home all day. Sort of, it's like, until you're in and have it, you don't understand what being home all day means with it.
No.
It's like, it's a tough one, and I think Christmas makes it double tough, because it's where everyone's generally up and happy and doing stuff, and you're kind of not able to do. You might be able to join in with some of it, but not all of it, and it does give you that kind of, like I think you mentioned earlier, the grief side hits you, because before, when you were well, you could do everything and not really care. And it's a hard one to kind of navigate. But
and then, like you say, just planning for it, it's hard.
Well, that's it. I didn't realise until I was because I kind of sat planning it yesterday and today a little bit this morning. I was like, oh, crikey. When you look at it, it's like there's still quite a lot to do. I think, thankfully, Father Christmas has bought all the presents already, so we're okay on that side. But it's the planning for the actual day itself and making sure it goes smoothly, or as smooth as possible, should I say. But it's tiring just planning it, let alone doing it. So
I've got a Facebook comment here from Sophie, who said I could sort of share it. She said she went Christmas shopping, and it's just an example of actually doing something that for most people is quite an ordinary thing to do. You sort of plan a day, you go and do your Christmas shopping, and then you sort of come home. I mean, all of my shopping is done on Amazon, but she said, I had an amazing day yesterday doing Christmas shopping, but what comes next, the payback, it's freaking hard fighting to just stay afloat. Every bit of me is in agony. Sorry to moan, it's well worth the pain, etc., but it's hard to not let it get you down. I know so many of you understand, and sometimes you just need to know that you aren't alone. It feels like an achievement to have just made it to the sofa today, hoping and praying for some brighter days ahead, especially for energy to do the Christmas decorations on Sunday. Anyway, happy 1st of December, everyone. That was she posted on the 1st of December. But it is that balance, isn't it? It's like actually wanting to do something that you're going to enjoy, but then the payback as well. So trying to decide what's actually worth doing and what's not worth doing, and actually how much it's going to impact you afterwards. It's a challenge, isn't it?
That's it, and that's why I think, like I was saying, we're going to that Windsor on Ice. We've kind of planned for that, so I know that's coming, and that from what I can think is the only thing that we'll be doing as a full family that involves going out of the house. Everything else will be my wife and mother-in-law if they do go out. We're quite fortunate because we live kind of like in the middle of the countryside, so they can just go for little walks, and we've got a nice back garden, so if they want to go out and play, they can. So we're quite fortunate on that side of things. But it's just, I think it's really, because like you say, it's hard to decide what sometimes what is the most important thing. I suppose you would say it's your health, but it's not. Doesn't always come that way when you have to factor in your children and other family commitments maybe, and sometimes it's your own personal commitments as well. Because some people have the illness and still work, so they've got to. Is it worth doing anything if it's going to affect their pay and what? There's so much that you have to think about.
Yeah.
And I suppose you only really see your own side of it, but because of the diversity of this illness, you've got, and I always say for people who have, when they say they've got mild ME, and people hear the word mild and they think it's a completely different concept when it comes to this illness, because I think mild ME is still such a minefield to navigate. But those people are generally trying to work at the same time, and I think I was in that position. I was working and trying to not do anything after work so that I could go into work, and it just became too much in the end, so I had to retire. But I think it's such a tough illness, and then when you throw in a tough period like Christmas, it kind of brings everything to the forefront. It kind of hits home on all the levels of what you're missing out on, and what is important. Is going to the office drinks important, or is it better to stay at home and rest? It's such a horrible month to try and navigate. I think it's
and then how do I guess it's. Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, and then you kind of hit into the new year, and everyone's slumped and miserable, which doesn't help when you're trying to get yourself back into things either. So it's
and it's I guess it's a balance of like measuring quality of life, isn't it? Like what is quality of life? Is it pushing yourself to do something like that actually you're going to enjoy and it feels like it gives you some meaning in life, or is it about maintaining a steady baseline so that you can function on a day-to-day basis? It's hard. And like you say, Christmas just throws everything into the mix, doesn't it?
Especially when there's stuff that like parents do with the kids. For obviously, I'm talking from a personal point of view, because that's my life at the moment, being with the younger children. It's like I can't do some of the things that they want to do, and it's it does make it. It's like we go to church every Sunday, because my eldest is going through First Holy Communion at the moment, so we try, so I can't always go, and like thankfully the father knows us, and he knows us. There will be weekends where we might not be able to go as a family, especially if Lindsay's working. So he's we're quite fortunate on that sense, but it's just little things like going to church, something that I used to do regularly. I can't do now as regular. I can go sometimes, but sometimes I can't. And it's you do notice the things that you can't do, which can also put a negative spin on your mental state, I think, because you do look at what you could do before to what you're doing now. So I think it is that, like you said, that kind of fine line of, do you push yourself or do you try to stay on your baseline? Because it's really hard, because the baseline where you want to be at all the time if you can, but you dip below it, you dip above it, depending on where you are. But there are some times where you just have to kind of go, do you know what, the payback will be awful, but it might be worth it for this one event. So and Christmas throws up so many events, you just have to cherry pick which one's most important to you, I guess.
It's tough.
I think also another thing which I've always found hard to do is asking for support or help. I think especially during Christmas, it's a time, we say it's a time for giving, isn't it? So it's one of those periods where perhaps you might need a bit more help or support, and don't be afraid to ask your family or your friends for that, because I always go on the side of, no one's going to be able to do it. I always think go negatively, if that makes sense. Whereas since my daughter's gone to school, we've created like a little unit of friends who have helped us, and like I have, especially when I first relapsed, someone who would come, we'd get Aurora to school, but they'd bring her home. So I didn't ever have to worry about pickup or things like that. So it's a case of, the people are out there, and there are people that will help if you ask them. And I think, Christmas is a tough time. Whether you're on your own, whether you've got a family, it's tough no matter what. So always lean into those that are there if you can.
Yeah, it's so true. I when I first became ill this time, I think my kids were like 7 and 10, and we couldn't do that. I couldn't do the school bus run. My wife was like working, and we just had some friends around the corner. Their kids went to the same school, and they literally took our kids to school like every day and brought them back most days anyway. And it was just like such a, I don't know what the word to use would be, but like some people might say it was a blessing, but like I guess it was humbling. And again, there's that guilt, because it's like, well, they're doing this for me, and I can't thank them enough. But at the same time, like I can't reciprocate that. There's nothing I can do to kind of like say thank you in that way and to sort of pay them back. But I think they just did it because they did it, and it was wonderful.
And you can kind of say thank you, but you do always feel like it's not enough, don't you? I don't that's kind of how I feel. It's it's very. I think humbling's a nice word, because it is nice to know that people are willing to do what they can. And sometimes it's from a place of not understanding the illness or not knowing it, but they know that you're struggling, if that makes sense. So, but no. And I'd also say another key element for Christmas is to budget as well. Don't force yourself, because I think it can be very easy, because you're not present a lot of the time, to want to throw money at not kind of guilt, but kind of, I don't know how you would explain, but kind of buying stuff because you can't be there. You think, oh, well, if I buy you this, it'll make it okay, if that makes sense. But it's not worth doing it, because the people that love you understand anyway. But definitely budget for what you can afford, rather than trying to get a mortgage.
And I think that but it sort of brings up that whole kind of grief feeling when like you don't have an income yourself, and then you sort of like you haven't got the money to spend that you may otherwise have. It's hard. It's a challenge.
I think like sometimes you take things for granted as well. But when you said that this is what we'd probably talk about, the festive period, with us trying to come together to do like a Christmas special, as we called it, it kind of hit home when I was writing stuff down about it and looking through the ME Association mag, at how much you kind of do have to plan like everything to just be able to, when you think of it, technically for one day, the amount of planning that has to go into that one day, which is ridiculous, because we have to plan everything. We have to practically plan our lives anyway, so that we don't overdo it. So to have to then do all of this extra planning for one day it can be a bit crazy and a bit overwhelming, I think, for you as well. So it's trying to not let that stress you out, and I think that's why planning stuff does help, because you can. Well, I don't know if anyone else is like this, but if I've got that like bullet point plan, I can kind of visualize it a bit more. It doesn't feel as jumbled in my head as it would do if I just went into it.
That's it's definite. So with whatever you're celebrating during this holiday season, take plenty of time to rest. We hope that everybody finds something that they can enjoy from this time as well. Like it's hard, isn't it? Because on the one hand, it sort of feels like a slog. It brings up all these feelings and all these kind of regret and grief and guilt, like you said. And but trying to find some positives as well, I think is important, isn't it, for your mental
definitely.
Health as well.
Even if it's just something like I know a couple of people on that who have ME do like, I think it's like a film club. Not necessarily for Christmas, but they do it over periods like they do over summer. I'm sure there probably would be a festive one where you kind of pick a movie for each day or one a week or something. So on that day for that week, you would watch, say, Home Alone, and you'd all watch it, and because it then kind of gives you the feeling of that you're doing an event with a load of other people who are in the same position and understand. So maybe that's something you could do. You know, find one of your favorite Christmas movies, whether it's Die Hard, totally a Christmas movie, or Home Alone. You know, there's so many out there. It could be an hour, 2 hours to just not let you ever forget things, but you can just enjoy 2 hours of trying to. That's if you can. You know, some people can't even watch TV, can they? So it's such a different. That's why it's so hard to kind of talk about ME for Christmas time, because there's so many different levels of suffering. It's really hard to kind of cover it all in what, half an hour of what you should or could be doing, sort of thing. So I did see something I mentioned to you before about there's in the magazine that you can get with it's the National Theatre at Home. You can either subscribe $9.99 per month, or you can pay for like a single viewing. But you can, like, for those who miss going to like the theatre or pantomime sort of that, you can actually pay to watch it in your own home. So maybe that's something that people might find. God, I know theatre's not for everybody, but that could be sort of a nice outlet if, you know, that's something you would normally do at Christmas time. Well, I thought that was quite, because I didn't realise you could do that. I mean, obviously, I know you can rent movies online and things, but to actually get a theatre production, I thought that was quite a nice deal.
I've not done that before, but it might be nice to watch a pantomime or something like that, actually, for a change.
I know CBeebies do one as well, don't they? Because I know we've had it on every, like, at some point it comes on and we watched it with the kids, and that's another good one, because I'm pretty sure you'd probably be able to stream that with the iPlayer, so it's something you could sort of do as well. Well, I'm not sure. I think it might have already been on, but I know they do lots of playback, so you could find the time to watch it. I think it's Robin Hood as well. Is what they've done. I think so.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be on the iPlayer, I reckon.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
So yeah, brilliant. Well, we've kind of done about the time that we sort of said. So but yeah, Merry Christmas to people if you can celebrate in whatever way, or Hannukah, or thanks for listening, and we'll speak to you soon. And it's been really good to chat with you as well, Michael, and do a bit of a joint one, so it's been good.